when you were writing that book, were you conceptualizing it as a YA novel or just simply as a novel? What was your intent?
Well, I think genre can be a straitjacket. I also think it can be really useful and liberating. And I like conventions of my genre. I like, when I was writing Looking for Alaska, I love the conventions of the boarding school genre. And I'm not one of these genre writers who wants to upend the genre or whatever. I like boarding school novels. That's why I wrote one. I like road trip novels. That's why I wrote Paper Towns. I like comic. Thanks. No one's going to cheer for Catherine's. Thank you. Thank you. I know you don't mean it. But I like the Southern comic kind of novel, and that's why I wrote Catherine's. And I liked that. Yes. And I love star-crossed love stories, and I'm fascinated by them. And I didn't want to not write one. I wanted to write mine, if that makes sense.
So they are books about love, although they're not exactly love stories. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about kind of the importance of love, or the desire for love, as a driver of these stories.
Well, I think a lot of it is probably personal. I mean, I was obsessed with romance when I was in high school, as both a reader and as a person. So I read a lot of romance. I love romance novels. I am a totally unapologetic fan of like Edwardian bodice rippers with Fabio on the cover. I am. That's not a joke. I think they're great. And everyone's like, oh, it's the same book over and over again. And I'm like, no. You know, sometimes anyway. It's not always the same book over and over again. And I also love YA romance. I love, I love, and I think I would be much more likely to be called a romance novelist if I weren't a guy. Because I do, I like writing love stories. Fault in Our Stars especially is very much a love story. Like that's what's at the center of it. But I think part of it is that I just am really interested in it. And when I was a teenager, I was like obsessed with it.
Were you successful at it as a teenager?
No, of course not. I was epically terrible, and like Colin in An Abundance of Catherines, got dumped over and over and over again, and could never figure out why, and always sort of, as you do, imagined myself as the victim. I imagined that there is like a perpetrator and a victim in a romantic relationship, and that I was always the victim because I was getting dumped, and then later realized why I was getting dumped. And then I realized that I wasn't really a victim. I was like a person in a bad relationship. And that was an important thing for me to understand, to like not see myself, obviously, I wasn't in abusive relationships. I was just in dysfunctional relationships, which were largely dysfunctional because of me. I was personally fascinated by it, and then also I think there's a measure of wanting to participate in this like big old conversation in novels about romantic love.
Right.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.